is Jeremy, creator and co-host of Star Trek Wars podcast, Energy. Joining me tonight is my co-host and co-life partner, Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea.
Hello, Jeremy.
Welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. The episode we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council that left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted for next week's episode, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the episodes yourself and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're on there very active and love talking Trek with you. But enough of that. Let's get into this week's episode. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 4, Mugato, Gumato. Written by Ben Rogers, directed by Jason Zurek. The USS Cerritos is dispatched to a planet to investigate an unexplained sighting of a dangerous Mugato. All right. Chelsea, what are your general thoughts this week before we delve further into the episode?
Yikes.
All right.
It's
okay. Well, mine are...
It's a no from me.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Randy.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Oh, all right. Jumping reality shows. This one just felt off to me, too. If it's not my least favorite episode of Lower Decks, it's close. But that doesn't mean we have a ton of pros to go through. All right, let's jump into pros. Pros, Chelsea.
All right.
What worked for you this week on Lower Decks? Episode 4.
Yes. Anything else?
Mugato Gumato.
Potato Mugato. Mariner turning into an absolute killing machine gives me life. That's amazing. Because they're like, oh no, we made her bleed and she's a fragile woman. And she's like, I'm here to murder you now. I don't know. It made me feel good inside. I love that Shax also walks in on that scene. And it's just like, don't worry, guys. I'm 10 minutes early. You got this. In that moment, all I could think about was Shax he reminds me of my dad.
Oh.
He would totally do that. If I was I don't know, getting my ass kicked, he'd walk and be like, don't worry, I'm early. Don't rush. Not on my behalf. You got this. Okay. And that was I guess a pro, also kind of connish, but whatever. Loved the weird little pufferfish people. I thought they were Cardassians at first, and then they got the little puffy faces when they got scared.
Oh, do I got pros for you for those people? Because
they were so cute.
That is a main character on a Star Trek show. That's the same race of a Star Trek show you haven't really watched that often.
Okay, so Enterprise or Voyager?
Enterprise, baby.
And by that often, you mean I've seen 2 episodes, and I don't think I finished the second one.
No, but you have seen that race.
Have I?
Yes, because that is Dr. Phlox's people, the Denobulans.
No!
And he does that in season 4.
Oh my God.
Because he has this smile where he's like, optimism, Captain, and he smiles. In season 4, as a self-defense, he pufferfishes himself.
Oh, sweet little Dr. Phlox.
Yeah.
Oh, they were super cute. Because they were just just very scientific and having a conversation. They're
about Roctagino.
And then they just puff up and run away. And I was like, that's adorable.
They're talking about Roctagino.
Yes.
Which is?
Klingon coffee.
Yes.
Nice. I really like Patingi. I don't even know why. I like his weird Australian accent.
No, he did.
Okay, hold on.
Little Telluride Steve Irwin.
I love the way he just goes, I'm Patingi.
Okay.
I don't know, but he cracked me up. And his weird little legs, they don't have any knees. And the way he's like, no, I've read 5 books about them. But
I have 5 books on the Mugato.
The name Patingi. I'm going to have to name our next fish Patingi. It's adorable. And then loved when Mariner was like, why don't you guys just replicate things? Y'all are dumb.
Yeah, take that, Frankie.
You know what? It doesn't seem like a good insult, but to the Ferengi being like, y'all are stupid. Yeah. That's pretty brutal. That's literally all I have for pros.
Okay. I had the Denobulans as a big pro.
Oh, they're called Denobulans?
I think Phlox would definitely be your favorite character probably already is and will be, but the more
pretty
you watch
cute.
Enterprise, he's pretty
Okay.
great. The whole Mugato Gumato thing. I had that in our Easter eggs, but we could talk about that now. That's maybe the title of this episode is the funniest thing, just because it is an Easter egg back to the episode of the original series that had the Mugato in it, because DeForest Kelly could not say Mugato, or he could not say Gumato, which is what they were supposed to be. So he kept calling them Mugatos.
Oh my God.
So they changed it to Mugatos. But then even in that episode, they were saying Mugatis, and there's so many different references. So the fact that they bring that up and say, wow, isn't that neat and inconsistent? It's just a funny little jab at that TOS episode.
Oh, bones.
I like that when you have your tractor beam on its lowest setting, it's the lowest tractor factor.
Hey, that's so cute.
I also love the Lord of the Rings homage this week.
What?
I know, as a Lord of the Rings expert that I am, when Rutherford and Boimler were hiding under the tree, and the Mugato comes over. That's a direct reference to Fellowship of the Ring.
And Patingi.
Sure.
Patingi just like grabs
Yes, that's right.
because they're running from the ring wraiths.
Wow, man. 5 years ago, did you think you'd ever say ring wraiths or Patingi?
No, please don't tell
sentence?
anybody I know.
I actually did like the bartender with his northeastern, like Stephen King character accent. Sometimes dad is better.
Yes. Oh my God. He sounded like weirdly Southern and like Bostonian, Maine-ish.
Yeah, you know what I heard.
Weird.
She's a killer. Yeah. I like that. That was ridiculous. Tindy and Mariner, they got an awesome girls trip last week. I'm glad Rutherford and Boimler got that chance this week. Not to the same success, but it's cool to see those two together after Tindy and Mariner got time together.
Mm-hmm.
So now we just need Rutherford and Mariner together in an episode, and we can really, because we've at least seen Boimler and Tindy together because they went off to that to the freak camp in that one episode.
With the dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not a lot, but we still haven't seen anything of Rutherford and Mariner. That was, of course, I had to look it up, but you just couldn't hide it. That was Paul F. Tompkins as Hyde.
It was.
It was.
Okay. Like that cry was way too Paul F. Tompkins.
So, yeah, he was great as a guy just getting his ship blown up so he could take people.
I don't have horns. Leave me alone. Don't hail me again.
Oh, we have similar tastes. Yeah, I also lost a little Gorn figure.
A bronze pineapple? A Gorn doll?
The main Ferengi in this episode, oddly enough named Kink, K-Y-N-K, is played by Tom Kenny, mostly known as a voice of SpongeBob. And I guess Tom Kenny has done a bunch of voices this season for Lower Decks.
I never watched SpongeBob.
There was about a 2-week window where I enjoyed it, but he's a great voice actor.
Yeah, I mean, he seems fine. I thought it was weird that, no, he seems fine.
He
does
literally
seem fine. Made like Kinkland, so that's problematic, but that's fine.
For sure.
That's all fine.
One of the least problematic things this week, and let's get to it with our cons. Cons.
All right, I'm going to use a Mariner insult.
Okay.
I thought the rumor that she made up about her being Black Ops was dumb. It did not make for a good storyline. I did not enjoy that at all. Because Boimler and Rutherford are just super quick to believe the weird Stephen King bartender and not their friend. I don't know. That's just really shitty.
Yeah.
I feel like this was supposed to be really funny. I also feel like a lot of it didn't land for me. For example, Shax eating literal shit to track the Mugato, Tomo, Aligato, Mr. Gumato. That wasn't funny. It was just, ugh. And then, let's talk about the weird sex stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm no prude. I'm all about inappropriate humor, but this was weird and gross and seemed really out of character for this show.
Yeah.
Almost like they like ran a contest and they're like, oh, whoever sends in the best like episode idea will be like a guest writer. And like a 14-year-old pubescent boy won. And they're like, let's make like this weird ape thing, like to watch these other ones have sex and like he'll rub his horn. It just like, it didn't land with me. It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that funny sex humor. It was just icky. Like it I don't know. It was gross.
It's weird.
It seemed really out of place. Like we've had very little of that. And like the kind of like sexual jokes that they've had so far have been hilarious. Like last episode, the weird wooden sex doll, Jeremy, like that was funny. But this was like weird. Like I don't know. It made me uncomfortable. And like I said,
That's really difficult to do.
it is. And that was kind of weird for me because I was like, I really, really am just like grossed out by this. And at that point, like I just kind of shut down. I was like, I don't really like this episode. I don't really care what else it has to offer. Like I'm good. It's
That's
like,
when you're like, okay, this isn't.
yeah, like
gonna
yeah,
be the
I
one.
get like the whole like, oh, you're like enslaving these creatures and taking their babies, and like those are all really sad things that I would have like probably enjoyed more and felt like the impact of like finding like an ethical way around that. But you literally made me watch them mate. So that's on you. I don't care anymore. It's gross. I don't know. What about you?
I did want to add one pro that I forgot. At the end, where Boimler and Rutherford have to save the day, they arrive with a homemade rocket launcher, which looks identical to the rocket launcher weapon that Kirk made to fight the Gorn in Arena. Like the same like bamboo that he like shot. He made like gunpowder and shot the Gorn. That's exactly what they made, except for it was made to do a power presentation.
I love a good PowerPoint.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
That was cute.
Now on to cons. The Ambujitsu, yeah, I like the Shax part, nonchalantly waiting for his turn, but I thought it was still a bit over the top. The stabbing, like this is the second time Mariner has stabbed one of her friends in the show. Mm-hmm. I didn't love that part.
I guess I don't see the problem when your friends are Rutherford and Boimler.
I guess not. They're so soft. Yeah, this is a little bit more immature than usual. The poop and sex jokes are pretty low bar, way more low bar than the show usually delivers. It just, the whole thing seemed off, and I'm not against those kind of jokes either, obviously, but it felt flat to me comically. It just wasn't funny.
No, it wasn't like executed properly.
Mm-hmm. And Tindy, I hate ever having her in cons because she's amazing. But, all right, we're 4 episodes into the season, and twice now her storyline has consisted of chasing a crew member around Cerritos for medical purposes. Mm-hmm. That's been Tindy for half of this entire season so far. That's so weird.
Yeah.
She was great last week.
Yeah.
But 2 out of the 4 episodes, she just chases someone around the ship for medical purposes.
Yep.
Just please do better with her because she's great. Rutherford and Boimler thinking Mariner is Black Ops. That's a storyline that would have worked much better early season 1. It just feels really odd and forced this far. They know each other too well at this point to fall for that. That could have been a really interesting like episode 3 storyline where what do we really know about Mariner? But now it just doesn't make any sense here. And I'm sorry, but this was my big con last week. But Shax being alive is still a big con for me. I guess I just need to accept it and move on going forward, so I won't keep bringing it up. But if I take all of his scenes this week and replace him with Kayshawn, it works a bit better for me. Everything he's in. If you just replace him with Kayshawn. Imagine Kayshawn leading the away team this week and dipping his finger in Mugato dung would have definitely worked better if you're hearing Carl Tart say, tangy. It would be funnier. It's still lowbrow and not great, but funnier. At least it would have been with Kayshawn, you know? Maybe I'm biased because I love Carl Tart, but it really makes zero sense to make such a fuss introducing the brand new security chief in one episode before replacing him immediately with the old one an episode later. Like, why even bother then? the handling of this whole situation is my biggest gripe of the entire series so far. And he was in this one, once again, with no dialogue and no rank on his collar. Like, he's background again. He silently punched Jet, but there's nothing on his collar. He's not speaking. What the hell is going on here? And if they were planning on bringing Shax back, which of course they were, couldn't they have just introduced Kayshawn as another lower decks officer? It still would have been a big deal because he's the first Temerian. But why even make him the security chief if you're going to bring back the security chief a week later? I don't understand any of the thought going on with that storyline at all.
Maybe he decided to take a step down after he was turned into a puppet.
Maybe. I'd love to hear Carl Tart explain it.
Just saying. Y'all take care now.
Like Kayshawn, when he got demoted for becoming a puppet.
Yeah, I don't know. I do feel like it's definitely like I'm more loyal to Shax because that was like the original security officer. You're more loyal to Carl Tart because he's on your favorite podcast.
I'm also loyal to Shax dying because of the impact that had on me in the finale.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's like, oh, yeah, I'll sacrifice my life. Who cares? I'll be back in 3 episodes.
So if Cisco died and then came back, you'd be like, now I don't like him.
No, but it would cheapen the episode he died in. I'd still love Cisco.
I get that, but like, you can't. Okay, yeah.
I get it. It's tricky. It's tough because I do like both characters.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite episode so far of the show, and it still is. But there's a little bit part of me that's like, we'll see him again.
I guess what I'm trying to say is rating future episodes based on an episode in season 1 is like docking points because somebody decided to straighten their hair.
Okay, I mean, I won't go that far, but I definitely get it, and I'm not gonna keep dwelling on this because clearly Shax is here.
Yeah,
and that's all there is to it. I hope we get more Kayshawn.
Maybe he'll go to like the Titan or something like Boimler did.
Maybe,
He'd be more like at his speed somewhere with Riker than the Cerritos. Like,
yeah.
So
that'd be great. But it seems like he's here to stay with the storyline. Yeah. Now, if he were to leave next week, it would make even less sense. So I just accept that he's here and hope that we get some Kayshawn stuff, maybe as often as we get like Dr. Paul F. Tompkins. Do you have any more pros or cons you want to throw out this one?
No, I don't have a ton to say about this one.
Okay. As for Easter eggs, we did get the Ambu Jitsu that Riker had kind of worked out some parental issues when he fought his father in season 2 of the Icarus Factor after finding out his father boned Dr. Pulowski.
That's disgusting.
And we get...
Is that his mom?
No, I think we mentioned that. Like, does it add up? We get the Kzinti from the animated series, which is the cat-like race. You see one of them big cat guys.
Those are little ear piercing.
Yeah, they were in a few episodes of the animated series. So
I like their lisp. They have little lisps.
And of course, the title, which we mentioned. Well, that brings us to, you know what time it is now. It is time for 3 Trekcommendations.
Oh, God.
That seemed appropriate for this week. Of course, this is when I mentioned 3 Star Trek episodes that came to my mind while watching this episode. And now, of course, before I explain what that episode is, Chelsea will have you try and guess it. But number 3, I recommend in quotation marks. I trecommend. Damn it. I can't trademark this. I can't even get it right. The Last Outpost. It's a Next Generation episode, season 1, episode 4. It got an average score of 3.69, ranking it at 163 out of 176 of Next Gen, and number 666 of all time out of 716 episodes. What do you think The Last Outpost was about?
So Mariner mentions like old ass cast off Ferengis like in the outpost.
Yes.
So I'm thinking they're just like some some like gross old Ferengi that are, I keep wanting to say hobgoblin.
You're not far off. Okay.
Like disgusting little greedy monsters that try to, I don't know, maybe steal data or something crazy. And Picard's like, no.
Okay, very close with the hobgoblins because they are just nasty little jumpy creatures with their space whips.
Okay.
The Last Outpost is the very first episode featuring the Ferengi.
Okay.
And there's nothing about profit or anything at this time. At this point, they were thinking the Ferengi would be the number one villain of Next Gen. But when this episode premiered, they're like, we're going to have to rethink some things.
This isn't working.
It was awful. But they did have their little space whips, which you see this week.
Okay.
Which you really haven't seen since. So, very good. That was very close, Chelsea. Number 2, I'm going to go with The Icarus Factor, The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 14, with an average score of a 5.12, number 558 all time on the list. The Icarus Factor.
Okay. So I know you mentioned it was about Riker fighting his dad, and I know Icarus is the one that flew too close to the sun and burnt his wings up. So Riker tries to do some dumb fuckboy shit and ruins it and has to like fight his dad and probably loses.
That's really good. Yeah, he fights his dad with that jujitsu nonsense. Icarus-wise, maybe his father just flew too close to Pulaski, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I wouldn't say she's the son. She is like a fire of hell, though. So maybe she's the son.
And, of course, number 1 being A Private Little War.
Oh.
The original series.
Yikes.
Season 2, Episode 19, with a 5.66, making that number 478 all time.
Okay, I'm gonna invoke my 3 questions. Who's the main character in this?
Yeah, let me just grab the encyclopedia real quick.
Okay. What species is the quote unquote enemy?
All right, it's been a while
Villain
for me.
Okay, so Private Little War.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that sounds gross.
Okay, well, yeah. But if I don't know much about this episode from memory,
it's Next Gen?
It's the original series.
Oh. Okay.
Why would I pick this not knowing much except for based on this episode?
Probably because Kirk and the original series crew find some planet where some species is taking advantage of another species and enslaving them and doing messed up stuff. And they're like, oh, we know that this should just be between you, but no. And so they intervene and stop it.
Oh, that's very specific. And I'm glad that you thought that that's how much I thought about it. But clear, I don't remember this episode too much, but the Mugato's in it.
Okay.
So maybe that's a Trekcommendation for myself. That's been Trekcommendations.
Woo-woo.
All right, let's get into our fan comments. Let's hear what you guys had to say about this episode. Alex Cersei says, this wasn't as good. Did anyone notice on the pad Tendi had, there was an ensign jet maneuver? And I'm going to intervene here. That's actually Jet Manhaver.
Yes.
Alex, and he is the super cool Lieutenant Junior grade from Beta Shift.
Yeah, because at first I thought it was Jet Manheaver, and then I was like, no, that's not right. And I reread it. So yes.
It's a Manheaver. This wasn't even all that funny to me. Ferengi with electro whips were cool, but this episode just felt lacking overall. It was clever enough at the end, I suppose, to outwit the Ferengi with economics. They seem to go a little overboard on some of the references from the past in this one. Still an all right show, but probably my least favorite of the season so far. He gives it 6 cats pouncing through the corridors out of 10. And at least that continues your favorite Dr. Tiana parts where she is last 2 episodes have been very cat-like.
She is. Like when she swipes at Tendi from underneath the shuttlecraft.
And Tony DeSimone says, I like the episode, especially the second half, but I'm surprised that everyone was so nonchalant about Tawny, Mariner, going psycho on her crewmates. I know they made a joke specifically about that, but she impaled one of their hands. Impaled! Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she almost sliced off Boimler's leg with a batleth in the first 2 minutes of the show. Okay, and moving on. And finally, Barbara Whipple says, I like Shax waiting politely for his turn. Didn't like the Mugato scene or that they used everyone's least favorite Ferengi. Let's go ahead and review Mugato Gumato. Chelsea, what do you give it?
I'm giving this shit show a 4.
Holy cow. A 4. All right, I'm going to give this one 5. 5 horny Mugato.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Star Trek Wars Council give it an average score of a 6.44. So let me get this tabulator machine up and going. Let's see. Putting in all these crazy
Beep, boop.
numbers.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep.
Working. Oh, it's tabulating.
Beep, beep, boop.
Okay. It is tabulated. The final average score for Mugato Gumato comes to you with an average of a 5.14. Now, where do you think that puts it, Chelsea?
Higher than any Babylon 5 episode we've seen.
Well, absolutely. We're not talking about Babylon 5. Let me bring up the lower decks on here. 5.14.
Got to be close to the bottom, if not.
That makes it the lowest scored episode
Followed by the pilot.
of all time, correct?
Yes, I figured as much.
Yep. Oof.
Do better, guys.
And I'm sure they will. And that'll do it for this week. Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. You can find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. And if you want any merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. Chelsea, always a pleasure. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
That'll do it for Lower Decks this week. Chelsea and I will return next week for not one, but 2 podcasts.
Woohoo.
We'll be reviewing the 5th episode of Lower Decks and also joining the whole gang for the review of Star Trek Insurrection. We will see you then, Lower Deckers.
What was that?
As a kiss.
That was not a kiss.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.